All right, folks, welcome back. Yankees Unload. This is episode 149. We got a game left. That's it. Only one game left in the season. Don't tell the Yankees that because they clearly don't care about the rest of their games. But but yeah, we have a game left. The Yankees did clinch the number 1 seed in the AL today because, well, the Guardians lost, and it's really that simple. So that's good, I guess. We're going to talk about it. We are going to talk about who they're playing or who they could play, why this could be an interesting little thing. And we're going to be talking about potentially bad vibes going into the postseason because we want to keep things like not negative on this show. Obviously, they're the number 1 seed. You know, we should be celebrating. But Gary and I did say multiple times we didn't want to see this team sleepwalking into the postseason, and it appears they're doing that. And so we're going to get into it. Before we do, be sure to like, subscribe, comment. Be sure to check us out on all podcast platforms. If you don't have time to watch the full video, we are on all audio platforms. And be sure, if you would like, to join our free Discord server. You can do that. Link is in the description in the comment section below, as well as a link to join and become a member where you have access to mailbag and other perks. So we're going to get into the mailbag. We got 2 from our guy Ed W later on the show. But we're going to start off right away with the bad vibes because, Gary, I'm not liking what I'm seeing. First off, you have Aaron Boone. I don't love the lineups he's putting out. I understand he wants to give this guy a day and this guy a day. But maybe I'm the only one that thinks this. But when you have an off day, that's your day, right? That's why Juan Soto plays 162 games a year normally. It's why Aaron Judge wanted to play out the rest of the year. These guys don't want to take days off. This isn't the NBA where everyone's complaining because they want, 40, 50, 60 games off and to just limp into the postseason and then all of a sudden ramp it up. No, this is baseball. And a lot of these guys signed up for this knowing, well, everyone signed up for this knowing it's going to be 162 games. And it's a different type of conditioning required. Now, we always kind of crap, not you and I, but a lot of people do. They kind of crap on the idea like anybody can play baseball. Just look at, Alejandro Kirk. But, the reality is not anyone can play baseball. And it is it's not a sprint. It is a marathon. So, Gary, going into this week, I mean, we had already made our presence known on this show, our thoughts on this specific topic. But I'm not the only one in here, right, where I saw the lineups, I saw the effort, and I'm just like, oh no, like this is not how you want to just go into the postseason. And I know they're not playing in the first round, but one could argue that's even a bigger issue. They're not playing in the first round. They're sleepwalking into the playoffs, and you have some time off in between then and now to go, to the ALDS. So it's concerning, but what say you?
I feel like it's clear that the Yankees are prioritizing health, right? Let's just get in healthy. Ironically, Anthony Rizzo breaks 2 fingers today, right? I think he had a fracture in 2 of his fingers getting hit. But I guess where I'm at with it is that if you go sleepwalking in the last 5 games of the season, this is part of the reason why it's so important. Teams like the Padres, right? Teams like the Diamondbacks, a lot of these teams in baseball, they have to win today so that they can actually go into a wild card or go into a division win. And that's actually beneficial. That's part of the hard part when you win a division early or a couple days early. It's like, all right, well, now we can just relax. And then now they suddenly want to turn it on again, right, for the division series. And they expect to be ready. They expect to be sharp. I feel like the Yankees right now are like this student in high school that knows the information front and back early on in the semester, doesn't pick up a book the rest of the year, and just expects to ace the test at the end of the year. At some point or another, you need to open up the book again and resharpen. That's the way this goes. So I said, yes, health is important, always, right? If you're not healthy, you shouldn't play. But if you're fully healthy and ready to play, you need to prioritize these games because they're going to become important very soon.
I agree with that. And I think, there's still, I don't want to throw everyone on the bus. Like, clearly Jazz is still putting in work out there. He looked good today, hit a home run. and they still scored 4 runs. So that's one away from their magic number 5. Like Soto singled, Stanton, whatever. But it just, the vibes feel off. They do. They feel off. They feel like a team that has clearly been told that they are good to go. They don't have anything to worry about. There's no pressure. There's nothing. They're not playing with a fire. They're playing, like they did after they clinched the playoff spot, which, by the way, I'm hoping now that, I understand last year they won 82 games and this year it's different, but I'm hoping next year they don't do that whole celebration thing for clinching a playoff spot. That was embarrassing.
Oh, they will.
Truthfully. That was embarrassing. You want to clinch it.
Remember? They felt like the Clippers. They hang banners for winning regular season stuff. And this has always been the thing. So I just expect this. I don't think it'll change. Because remember, when we lose games, they play Frank Sinatra. Okay? So I don't expect celebration to end when they make divisions. And I want to extend an olive branch here. It's still very important to win a division. So I'm not necessarily upset about that per se. But when you haven't won a World Series in 14 years and you're a team that's won 27 times, winning a division isn't the goal. So is it kind of crazy just going off in the locker room? And I say
it's not even the division, man. It's when they did it for just making the postseason. That just felt silly. That was silly. True.
They were
that's where the buck stops for me.
Yeah, that was insane.
Now I have to play mental gymnastics with what I believe in to try to understand. And the only thing I could say is they won 82 games last year. Like Juan Soto has no reason to be like, oh my God. Like he always makes the playoffs. But last year, if you're Aaron Judge and the injury he went through and everything, I'm sure that felt really good. But at the same time, it's like, I just want more alpha dog. And I just felt that was kind of a beta thing to do. Just go crazy.
You don't get alpha dog looking in the Yankees locker room? Because obviously Aaron Judge,
not at the moment.
I feel like he's the captain. So he shows leadership qualities. Juan Soto, kind of the same thing, but you don't get that vibe?
No comment. Anyway, the pitching today. Luis Heel, if you wanted to win AL Rookie of the Year, that was not the way to win it. That was not at all the way to win it. Now we know for sure it is going to be Cowser. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And I don't have any issue with it. Truthfully, I want to make that very clear. I know I advocated for Austin Wells. Austin Wells was missing. He was AWOL in September. Okay. So, and Cowser stepped up in a way where the Orioles didn't just lock in a playoff berth. They locked in the number 1 spot in the wild card. So you got to give him props for that. Yeah. So he deserves it. And we're not like homers here, as you know. I mean, we'll call the team out and everything, but I just wanted to keep it, real because, I know not everyone wants to hear it, but I'm being subjective. Cowser earned it. Clayton Beeter bounced back. Really like that. Tim Hill, he's going to be on the roster. He's pitched well. Will Warren, I never want to see ever again. Period. End of story. 1 inning, 3 earned runs. Are you kidding me? I'm
he should
so
be at a
over
GameStop by 2025. That dude should be selling video games. There's no business pitching for the Yankees. There's no reason. Actually, so this is the crazy part about Will Warren's career in pinstripes is that if you go back, right, outside of Major League Baseball and you go back to the minor leagues, Will Warren at no point was pitching well. Okay?
No.
He was not pitching well.
He has an ERA over 10.
His ERA is double digits. Okay. So there's nothing that you're seeing. That game's a punt game. Anytime you see Warren out there, that's Aaron Boone saying, okay, this game's just not that important to us. Or
they sent down Poteet for that.
Option. That it's just not, it's nonsensical. And mind you, when you do call up a Will Warren, that I don't necessarily know if I can blame Boone fully for it.
No, that's Cashman.
That's Cashman. He has to call him up. I know Aaron Boone isn't calling down to the minor leagues and saying, hey, bring this kid up. No,
he's not like, Cashman. We need Will Warren's stat. No, said no one ever. But
it's never happened before. Okay. So he's a human victory cigar for the opposing team. He is a non-factor when it comes to
I'd rather have Adam Warren at this point.
Which we did say there are certain players on a roster where they're not going to be a part of your postseason roster, but they're a part of the machine that helps you get to the end. And the Yankees are utilizing Will Warren as a guy to just throw innings. Remember that thing where you were saying about Jose Quintana just being an arm on the back half
Yeah.
of his career?
Mm-hmm.
Will Warren is a man with an arm. That's
You
what it
know,
is. He's
and in that
statistically
sense,
going to give
he's
you
impressive.
innings. Okay. Yes, he
He's
is very
throwing.
impressive.
He's throwing in the major leagues, which by virtue makes him impressive.
It is impressive.
So basically what I'm gathering is he's going to be selling us our copy of Ghost of Yote next year.
Yes. Yeah, I'm going to get my pre-order in and go pick it up from Will Warren.
Oh my
Before
God.
GameStop goes out of business.
That is hilarious. All jokes aside, we're gonna call it like it is. I mean, would I prefer Will Warren to be a boss and be a freaking ace and feel good about him long term? Absolutely. But I'm also a realist here, and I'm not seeing anything to feel
Yeah,
good
and I'd
about with
prefer
Will
to be
Warren.
6'5" and in the NBA. But some things just they didn't happen, right? You have to judge these players based on who they are long term. We try not to look at who you are in one game or maybe two or three, but if you do something over the long term in the minor leagues, then show up here to the big leagues. I didn't expect anything to change. My expectation, my prediction was that he's going to get shelled. You said the same thing. It's exactly what we saw. And yet, Will Warren, there's this yo-yo effect. He just continues to find his way back on the big league roster, which I guess this game wasn't about Will Warren. It was more so about the Yankees clearly not caring about winning this game as much as they were before they clinched. And is that a bad habit to play 4 or 5 baseball games you clearly don't care about, right? You're clearly not locked in for the game. Are you able to lock in and turn it on? Most teams we see win the World Series didn't turn it off for a week and then turn it back on. We just don't see that.
Yeah, and I want to also clarify this team in the bottom of the 8th was trying, right? They got guys on base. It's 6-4. It's still a game. You're thinking, okay, if we can get through the 9th, I don't know why you brought in Will Warren for the 9th, but we can get through the 9th. Now, bottom of the 9th, you need 3 runs to win, but at least 2 to tie. You feel okay about it because, you have, what is it? You had your top of the order coming up. So, yeah, I think just to give up 3 runs like that was pathetic on Warren's part. It's just awful because it nullifies what Beater did, what Hill did. And be honest with you, as bad as Hill pitched, I don't even think he was as bad as 6 runs would indicate. I mean, he didn't give up 6 runs in 2 innings like what Will Warren was on pace for. So, yeah, it's frustrating. Now, real quick, because we're going to get into the playoff matchup here now that we're getting to know what's going on and who they're likely going to face in the ALDS. But real quick, because you brought this up earlier, is Rizzo going to miss any time, do you think? And if he does, could I not make the argument, and I hate saying this because I don't like injuries, but could I not make the argument that the Yankees are a better team with Oswaldo Cabrera at first base?
So that's the interesting thing. So on the outside looking in, people are going to hear what you said, right? And they're going to try and do mental gymnastics and say, well, it sounds like you're happy to see Anthony Rizzo injured, right?
Definitely not.
That's the way. And
I was happy to see him back.
Not the point, right?
Yeah.
That's obviously not the point. The point here is when Rizzo's healthy, we know what's technically on the table, right? It's a veteran presence, specifically at first base, right? A team that has statistically struggled in the infield, and you're going to probably make that a little better by having Rizzo at first base. You always want a veteran, probably in his 30s, ready to anchor down at first base, right? Be a professional at bat in October. He's kind of periodically shown some glimpses offensively, but here's the thing. We've argued Cabrera as an overall player at first base, he's not a great first baseman, but he's just good enough to bring his bat in the lineup and be a better hitter than Anthony Rizzo. But if Rizzo's healthy, is Aaron Boone going to make the correct decision with that choice on the table? That's actually the conversation we're having. And they actually said after the game, this isn't something we expect him to miss the rest of the season. It's more of a pain tolerance thing. But Anthony Rizzo wasn't a great hitter with 10 fingers this year. Now he's going to have 8. How is he going to get better? Okay. We actually said on this show, we believe Rizzo can give every once in a while he can show a glimpse in October, right? Have one good at bat that impacts the game. That's great. But how impactful do you expect someone to be with 2 fractured fingers? He's not good enough to overcome that. So, in my opinion, this, I can't say just makes the Yankees better. It makes the choice easier.
I think that's fair, and it's definitely a polite way to say it. I would say this. Rizzo recently was hitting very well. So a lot of people don't understand, but Rizzo, before this game, he had 2 hits on Thursday, had 2 hits on Wednesday. He had a hit on Tuesday. He had a hit on Friday, hit on Thursday before, 2 hits against Seattle. It seemed like he had been getting things going. So typical that he would get hit there. Yeah, I would say
he always
this.
Gets hit by pitches.
Well, that didn't even look close. That looked like he was trying to hit his hand. I don't even understand. It looks so stupid. Like when you watch it, you're like, bro, just totally missed. But it's frustrating because I do think Rizzo right now, and I guess really what I was doing by asking that was playing like kind of both sides, because I think it's okay to admit that Rizzo is playing a lot better the last 7-10 games. But at the same time, I think it's also okay to admit that Oswaldo Cabrera is the bat that everyone in the comment section and our show, we have gotten on board with getting him more at bats. So I think as long as Cabrera's the first baseman, they don't try to be like, oh yeah, LeMahieu. No. We don't want LeMahieu
You
back.
sent me that and I was pissed. You sent me that quote.
It ruined my whole
and he
day.
Was basically, and I understand.
Right? I get it from his perspective.
From his perspective, if you're a person that's at a job, you must believe that you're competent. If you think you're not good at the job and you don't even want to try at the job, who really are you? Like, what's actually inside your chest? I expect DJ LeMahieu to think that he's going to be a decent baseball player from now into the future. You have to think that as an athlete, because otherwise there's no way to turn it around. But at the same time, it's like, why are we even sticking a mic in his face? He has not been a contributor at all for the last year and a half of baseball. Now all of a sudden he's going to deal with 2 major injuries, and DJ LeMahieu suddenly going to become, hey, let's put a mic in his face and see where he's at. When healthy, DJ LeMahieu is not a contributor. So I'm not really chomping at the bit for his return. I'm just not. And I understand people are saying, well, I want to see everybody healthy. Well, me too. He can be healthy and go sit on the bench. Go do that.
Yeah, I get it. Totally understand that. It's we'll see. We'll see what ends up happening. Hopefully LeMahieu's not called up. I'm sorry. He wasn't good in the regular season. Why would I want him in the postseason? I don't care how hard he's worked. I really don't. I want results. Truthfully. I mean, there are players that I really like and that I've really liked. And it's like I say, I mean, if Austin Wells can't hit anything and September bleeds in October, I won't be against them switching to Trevino. The only reason I would be because of his defense. But if it gets to the point where Trevino's hitting 250 and he's, not as good of a defender, obviously, as Austin Wells, and Austin Wells is hitting 100, I'd understand hitting Trevino. I would. I wouldn't argue with it. Like, Wells is my boy. He's one of my favorite players on this team. But I'm going to put that aside because you have to. If you want this team to win a World Series, there are no favorites. Like, you just want the guys that are going to go out there and perform at a high level. Personally, I think they have quite a few players like that. I don't know about Jason Dominguez. We'll get into that in the mailbag. I don't. Truthfully, I do not know. But I'll tell you, I think Austin Wells is going to be one of those guys to be counted on. I do. And I think Jazz is going to be massive. I think look for Jazz to have a similar postseason to the one in 2022 that Bader had. Like, I'm not saying he'll have like 1,200 OPS or anything like that, but I feel like Bader thrived in that moment, and I feel like Jazz is going to thrive in that moment personally. And then at that point, we talked about Judge, which you and I both said, we don't think that Judge is going to continue slumping the way he has in the postseason. So if you have his production and you have Soto's, and he's been great in the postseason, then you have one of Stanton and Glaber who have had good postseason success if you ignore 2022. Now all of a sudden you might be cooking, and you don't need all 9 to come through and, have big games. You need 4 or 5 of the 9 guys in your lineup to have, important spots where they come up. So
that's the importance of these games right here. I mean, you're talking about, you mentioned Jazz Chisholm having a nice little game today. Well, what happens today and what happens in this final, couple games of the regular season? Well, we should use those as indications of what we're going to see. I know that now that these games aren't important, we just act like, okay, Chisholm goes up to the plate. Okay, Judge goes up to the plate, goes 0 for 5 with 5 strikeouts. And we say, well, this game didn't matter for the standings. Well, was Aaron Judge, is he going to admit to us that he wasn't trying? Of course he was trying. He just struck out 5 times. He took 5 at-bats, failed 5 times in a row. So that does have an impact. Now, will he succumb to that? Probably not. But it does have an impact. These games you're just sharpening iron is really all you're doing. And we're trying to put an emphasis on doing that. Now, we understand why the Yankees wouldn't. They've dealt with injuries for the majority of the years, the past decade. They've just struggled to stay on the field. And you can likely chalk it up to 2 of your best players. I mean, you've got Giancarlo Stanton and Aaron Judge, both 6'4", 6'5", up to 6'7", 240, 275 pounds. These are big guys, right? This isn't a typical baseball body. So Aaron Judge, early in his career, he's dealt with injuries plenty. People called him injury prone. Stanton currently is considered injury prone, right? We dealt with a major injury from Garrett Cole. I get it. I completely understand why you want to put bubble wrap around all these players and say, well, to hell with these next 2 to 3 games and what we can learn from it. Let's just show up healthy. I get that concept. But if you're not the hot team, you're not going anywhere in October, right? You look at the NL West, perfect example. The Los Angeles Dodgers, they lock up home field just the way we did, right? And LA, in large part, the reason I feel like the Los Angeles Dodgers are such a threat this year is they didn't just run away with the division 15 games, 20 games ago, right? The Padres put up a monster fight. There were actually a lot of people who thought the Padres could actually outrun them, right? And they had every opportunity to do so. But that's going to help the Dodgers. That's what people don't understand. The Dodgers had to play winning baseball up until the last week of the season. That matters, right? So, yeah, technically we finished the division around the same time they did, so it's not too much of an advantage. But the Dodgers were practicing playing postseason baseball. So I wouldn't even say we were, because when you look at the standings, we were always winning this division. About 2 weeks ago, we realized that. So the Yankees knew it, we knew it, and unfortunately, it doesn't help you become the hot team, but it will help you be healthy.
Yes, it will. And to your point, they've had injuries in the past. And I mean, Boone still thinks about 2022. He still thinks about Matt Carpenter. He still thinks about losing, Benintendi, a guy that they were really excited about that was going to add some contact to the lineup. I'm sure he still thinks about that. Having to call up those kids and having to get production out of Cabrera and Peraza. I mean, like, he remembers that. At the same time, though, you can be too cautious. And it's like the same thing with if you go through spring training and you say, I'm not going to play Aaron Judge because all I care about is the regular season, the postseason, and say he's not ready, well, then there you go. There's the ramp up period. You're always going to have to go through some adversity, and you can't skeet by it. There's always, I guess, the law of unintended consequences, because if you're going in thinking, well, if I, just take my foot off the gas pedal, give these guys days, make them feel like, it's not the end of the world. They just played 161 games, right? I guess in that sense, if you do that, you have to be worried about the idea that they show up flat. So we're going to talk about the postseason picture right now, because it's pretty clear, Gary. And I'll tell you right now, I don't think it bodes well for the Yankees. I'm not saying they're going to lose. I'm not. But let's be honest here. If you could play one of Baltimore, Detroit, and Kansas City, how are you not choosing Kansas City right now? They're 3-7. They look terrible. They've lost their spot, so now they're down to third. They're in, right? So they're in, but it looks like the way the postseason is shaping up, Houston has kind of an easier road to play Cleveland. And this is why Houston had to do what they did. Houston winning against Cleveland locks in Houston versus whoever versus Cleveland. So Houston is going to be able to play Kansas City because they took care of business. And the Yankees are going to have to play either the Orioles, who have shown in the past, like the Orioles won the season series. You can't sleep on the Orioles. We were there. They absolutely dominated the game, and then the Yankees came back and they still lost. And then you have the Tigers, who gave the Yankees a little bit of a fight the last time they played them. And you and I were like, why are the Detroit, really? And then after that, they used that series and propelled themselves to the postseason. AJ Hinch's group they won so many games. So unfortunately, it doesn't look like we're going to see AJ Hinch versus his old Astros team in the first round, which would have been a really fun series. But now, even more unfortunate, the Yankees have the number 1 seed, but it feels like they're getting paired up against the 2 toughest teams, I would say. I would probably rather play Houston than play Baltimore right now. I think Baltimore is going into the postseason hot.
Yeah, that's more bad luck. If you're the top seed, I can't get upset with who you run into, frankly. I just can't. So
yeah, I'm not upset. I'm just saying.
Yeah, the way that's the way it shook out. I feel like it's okay. And like we said before, if the Yankees don't play, if you're not the hot team, right? You don't show up, Aaron Judge doesn't play well. Juan Soto, if he lays an egg in a series, you're going home anyways. It doesn't matter who you play. You can lose to Kansas City, you can lose to Baltimore. Now, some of these matchups are more ideal than others. Kansas City is the most ideal. Their best player, a young player, he's dealing with pressure for the first time. Is he going to fold? We don't know. We have no idea. No one knows what Bobby Witt Jr. is going to do. Actually, no one knows what Aaron Judge is going to do, right? And he's a veteran player. He hasn't proven it. He's got to prove it to us. You mentioned that he could have an Alex Rodriguez level ascension in the postseason. That absolutely can happen. He has the physical capabilities to do it, but he has to prove that. Bobby Witt Jr. knows he's got to prove it too. He's going to be nervous. Everyone's nervous. This is why you lean on veteran players. So where I'm at with it, do I want to play a Baltimore right now? No. Baltimore knows they might have a better team than us, or a lot of people may feel that way, but we're a team that's going to go into Yankee Stadium knowing we just did 2 weeks ago and we fared well. Does that mean everything? Maybe not. But I will say Baltimore thinks they can beat us. I promise you. So that's going to matter in October. Confidence. And does Garrett Cole have confidence going into that Baltimore series? Maybe. How does Rodon feel? How does Heel feel? We don't know.
That's how they should feel. Baltimore should have no reason winning the season series, going to the Bronx, winning the games they had to win. They should have no reason to feel like they can't beat New York. None. And Detroit shouldn't feel like they can't beat New York because they used that series success the last time they faced them to propel themselves in this direction. Funny, I seem to remember the Astros doing the same thing. I don't know what it is with teams playing the Yankees and just, whoo, like if you beat them, it's like, So it's interesting, and just like the postseason in general is really interesting because we're going down to the wire here, the last game of the year tomorrow for everyone except for the Mets and Braves. You told me about that situation. Wild. They have to play a doubleheader. Both games are in Atlanta, so the Mets essentially have to win the next 3 games in order to lock in their spot. Right now, they do have the tiebreaker over Arizona, but Arizona is still fighting to get in. The Padres, the Braves, and the Mets. The Braves, who are the 5th seed, could fall completely out of it if they botch this.
And the Braves are not a team you want to see at all because you have to remember, Game 1 is very important in postseason series. Which team is it in baseball that wants to see Chris Sale? I want to hear that. If Chris Sale shows up, whether it be on the road, because very clearly it's going to be, if I told you, hey, I know this is impossible, but the Atlanta Braves are going to walk in and we've got to play them, and Chris Sale's coming in for Game 1 against Garrett Cole, I'm not feeling good. I'm just not. Some teams are built top-heavy in their rotation, and while over the course of 162 games, that can work as a weakness. That can be viewed as a weakness. No question about it. Same with the Baltimore Orioles. They know they're top-heavy. They don't have a deep rotation. They don't even have as deep of a rotation as us. It's really not even close. But they know they've got Corbin Burnes. And you know what Corbin Burnes can do? He has the physical capabilities of shutting down the Yankees in one game. That can happen. And they understand this. So if they go do that, right? If the Atlanta Braves go in and shut down a team in game one, they know all the pressure is on the higher seed. It may go south quick.
Yeah. Well, right now they would play the Padres and the Mets would play the Brewers. Fun fact, the Mets have to play the Brewers tomorrow. So I love those. Yeah. Well, the Guardians had to play the Astros, and the Astros could line up with the Guardians again. And, that's just the way it is. But yeah, interesting stuff for sure. For those of you who are wondering, hey, Jake or Gary, do you know when the Yankees are playing their first game? I do. Saturday. We don't know exactly what time, but it'll be Saturday. And by the way, the Yankees have the cheapest tickets in the first round. Who would have thought? The average ticket, yep, it's as low as $82. The Phillies is $209. The Dodgers is $83. And the Guardians is $99. Yep. I guess the Phillies are really they're milking this whole, well, we're never going to be back here. I don't know why they would act like that.
They get crazy in Philadelphia. There's no question.
Oh, yeah.
But
that's wild.
$9 to get in the building. That's insane.
Well, currently,
I get it.
They're selling the wild card tickets, right? So a Tuesday is when the first game of the wild card starts. The Orioles $71, the Astros $19, Padres $109, and Brewers $22. A lot different than the ALDS and NLDS tickets. But anyway, the good news is
Padres game is the best thing you could do.
Yeah, I mean, you get Padres and Braves. Well, if things stand the way they are.
Does that count towards the cost of the tickets? You get to go to Petco Park, probably the most beautiful park in the big leagues. You also get to be in the weather of San Diego. So
wait, you're telling me you don't want to go to the Trop?
The Trop smells like piss, so I don't want to go there. No.
There's so many big people in Tampa. There's this huge, and it's just that is the stadium they get.
Well, they don't play in Tampa. That's what a lot of people don't understand. And maybe you do, but they don't play anywhere. For those of you who do travel to Tampa, the Tampa Bay Rays, I know it's ironic they call themselves the Tampa Bay Rays. They play nowhere.
They play in St. Petersburg, but
St. Petersburg, Florida. My family's from there. It is a lot of old people. It is not downtown. It's not this hip area that people want to go to. No, it's a city people drive through to get to Clearwater. So let's be realistic. I mean, if they want a young crowd and they want people to want to go, or they want to charge more than $22 for a ticket, build a stadium.
So, Gary, we talked about all year. The finish line is getting closer. First game of the playoffs for the Yankees will be on Saturday. Not sure who they're playing. I think it's going to, let's be honest here. If Kansas City wins and Detroit loses, but Detroit would have to lose to the White Sox and Kansas City would have to beat the Braves. Not easy. If Kansas City, the 3-17 the last 10 games, magically wins that game, and I think it happened, and the Tigers blow it against the White Sox, which you couldn't have more of a layup, then the Tigers would play the Astros and the Royals would play the O's, which is we kind of assumed that would be the matchup for a while, and it definitely changed over time. So we're going to find out. The Yankees are playing one of those three teams. Very unlikely is it going to be the Royals, in my opinion. I think it's probably going to be the Orioles, but don't sleep on the Tigers, and definitely don't be rooting to see the Tigers either, because truthfully, they're the hottest team in baseball right now. And, I think
the benefit of this, by the way.
Yeah.
The benefit of playing Baltimore, while it's not ideal, it forces the Yankees to overcome something. It forces them. So I get it. You were saying earlier, the Houston Astros are seeming like they have an easy path. Well, here's the problem with the Yankees. Easier. Yeah. If you have an easier path, the Yankees won't ever feel like they've gotten over the hump by beating any one team until they get to either the championship series or they get to the World Series. I'll tell you this. I don't want the Yankees getting to a championship series and feeling like we didn't have to overcome anything, right? You play the Minnesota Twins. We've done this we've done this 10 times, right? They play the Minnesota Twins. They beat them handily in the division series. And suddenly we feel like we didn't go through anything. And now we're playing Houston. Now our big test, it's our World Series all of a sudden. I want the Yankees to be battle tested early. I want them to be healthy. I want them to show we're here to play. Well, I'll tell you this. If you want to know how the Yankees get on the map, and I know we're on the map, we're the most popular team, but get people to actually take us serious. Oh, the Yankees might actually go do this thing. Go beat a team that a lot of people think you may not beat. The Baltimore Orioles. The Baltimore Orioles think they're going to go beat you. I promise you, they believe they're going to. They don't think they have a chance. They think they have a better opportunity than what we have. Well, guess what?
They're licking their chops.
Burns, you go play Corbin Burns, put up a crooked number early in a postseason series. You go make quick work of them. I promise you, we go play Houston. We're not freaking out about a rival at this point. We just overcame a rival. I think it could work to the Yankees' advantage, but like I said earlier, they need to treat these regular season baseball games like they matter because they do. I get it. Standings, it's not going to make any difference. You're playing at home. That's great. But you need to be hot too.
I agree. So I'm glad we went over that. And over the course of the week, we'll get a chance to kind of watch those games and monitor them and have a little bit of an idea. Maybe our opinions will change based on how a team comes out. Who knows? But that'll be fun. It'll be an interesting week because, like, how do you cover a week of no Yankees baseball? We haven't done that since the beginning, the inception of this show. So, it's definitely a new thing for us. But just want to give shout outs to field level members here. Juan Cepeda, Kid from LI, Carlos Moreno, Jeff J, W, Brian Fuchs, Ryan Hoffman, Rich Squires, Joshua Halleckman, Egyptian Magician, Nick Gomes, Jalen Sestero, JT Roberts, Mickey G, Ronnie, and Tony Jones. We appreciate you. We appreciate all of our members. And we have 2 mailbag questions from our guy at W. Wanting to get your thoughts on an unconventional strategy to max out the Marcus Stroman contract until 2027. Can't we hard cap Stroman's starts to 4 to 5 innings and use Poteet, Beater, and whoever else the Yankees want to test drive as a bulk reliever after him? Basically, the double barrel. Stroman will grumble less because he is still starting and remain relevant. The kids are essentially chained to the Yankees, making $800K, so they really have no say. And inevitably, Stroman will pitch himself out of the job. And then with all the late work these kids will be doing, we'll then have them tuned up pitcher to take over as a starter. At the same time, we might get a serviceable pitcher in Stroman for longer in the season. This is the way the game is evolving anyway, so why not embrace it? Yeah, I think that's interesting. I mean, Gary, what are your thoughts on that? Because that's from a mailbag from our last episode where, we really did a little bit of a deep dive on Stroman's contract because you and I just had a realization that, he's going to be a Yankee until 2027 unless he's traded. So
yeah, it was a huge shock.
You were not ready for that. I found that out and I was like, do I tell him? Do I let him off easy? How do we go about this? But yeah, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I don't know. I was pretty upset to find out, but no. To answer the question, no. I just trade him. And you have to remember, the idea that if you keep him under a certain amount of innings, it essentially nullifies the third year of his contract. That makes his contract, because he still can make somewhat of an impact for a team that needs innings. I mean, you look at his innings this year. He pitched more innings than we expected. He was better than a lot of people expected. Okay. So having said this, if okay, well, we can just dial back his innings and then this just becomes a 1-year thing.
No, it's already done. It was this year.
Okay. So then what's the question?
I think he's just saying you can dial back his innings. Like you're giving him a hard thing. So he's not going to be like a 100% starter. He's going to pitch 4 to 5 and he's going to have an innings limit.
And what's the benefit of it? He's going to get upset.
Well, he's saying that he's still starting, but you're still getting an opportunity for Poteet, Beater, and whoever to kind of take over. I get what he's asking essentially. Basically, what he's asking is it doesn't make sense if you're stuck with Stroman anyway because it's already locked in.
Okay.
You're not going to just give him free reign where he's a starter. You're letting him know you're only starting 4 to 5 innings.
Here's what I do. If he's locked in as a starter, are we talking about 2025 or the rest of this year?
2025.
In 2025, he shouldn't be a part of the organization. He's done what I think we needed him for, which was,
I agree.
Where do we get the innings from? That matters. I get it. You have a 3-year contract and you want to get value out of year 1, year 2, and year 3. Totally understand it. But sometimes you have to give that guy a 3-year contract so that you can get him on the team for year 1. Sometimes that's what you need. And
that's what they did with Rodon.
Some people are going to listen to this show and say, man, you want to just trade him after everything he's done? Yeah, I do. Because after everything he's done, it's helped the Yankees get to this point. But am I going to invest in the product into next year? No, I'm not. It's not a risk I'm willing to take. The Yankees can trade his contract. They can trade him away. He's valuable at the major league level. There are plenty of teams that would take Marcus Stroman. He's not a great pitcher, but he's a guy who's going to give you 135 to 150 innings. He actually went past the innings number I gave you earlier by looking at his averages, right? We said his ERA needed to hover around 4. Everybody agreed, said, well, if he gives us a 4 ERA, that's good enough. Then he gave us around a 4 ERA and people complained. We don't know why. We don't. This is who Marcus Stroman is. He's a guy who's going to be a depth piece. That's exactly why the Yankees they brought him on this team. He's on this team to take them out every 5th day. He's going to be good, not great. He was exactly that. He was never great. He was good and periodically awful, right? But then you get off the mat and you give us something quality. It's exactly what we saw. So, no. To answer the question, I do not cap him at 5 innings, then throw Poteet out there. No, I don't play with my food. If you want to develop Poteet and any other young player, put him on the mound, either in the minor leagues to start a full game or bring them up on the big league level and let them start.
Yeah. I know this is biased, but after being at that game, I'm fine moving on from Stroman entirely, like truthfully, but
he gave up 13 hits in 3 1/3 innings of work. My mom, who's sitting behind the camera, probably could have gotten 2 knocks that night. I mean, all right, so it was terrible.
It was. Well, if he was trying to impersonate Mark Leiter Jr., I thought he did a great job of that. So, anyway, last thing here. We got number 2 from Ed. I think you guys should revisit the episode warning that Dominguez might not be ready in October if the Yankees delayed calling him up. I really want you to give the Yankees a big I told you so.
I won't do that. Me personally, I feel like I'm not worried about his bat. I get it. He should have been here a long time ago, right? Had more time to develop. There's no question about that. We can say, oh, I told you so. You're absolutely right. Ed W. Mm-hmm. Yes. But here's the question.
He's giving us praise. Let's make this very clear. He's giving us a little,
Yes. But here, Ed W., here's the real question. Do we trust Jason Dominguez running down a fly ball in the left center gap in a championship series? Now, I don't know the answer to this question. I don't know if he's going to deliver because we have to remember he's going to be on the field in huge games this year. And I'll tell you this, based on the fly balls that we watched live, it didn't look great, okay? And you actually mentioned, well, if he's not necessarily accustomed to playing left field, whether it be at Yankee Stadium or left field period, why wasn't he being developed at left field if the Yankees knew this is how they're going to be utilizing him? So, yeah, to Ed W's point, he should have been here a lot earlier because you know what we wouldn't be talking about in late September? How Jason Dominguez is getting accustomed to left field in the dimensions. We would never talk about that, but we are. Why? Because he just got here. So, yeah, we told you so.
Yep, I agree.
Thank you, Ed.
By the way, went back, our first episode, and you and I both wanted Aaron Judge to play first base. So we have kept that same viewpoint from the first episode to the 149th episode on this one. So I'm just saying. And I don't know if he's going to work as a center fielder, Jason Dominguez, but I wish they would have tried it a little bit better, a little bit more, rather. Yeah, you said the left field dimensions with Soto. Went back and watched the first episode. You mentioned multiple times. This is why I think Soto is going to play right field. And I was like, have they come out and said that? And they're like, no, they actually haven't. But it's kind of assumed that he's going to play right field. Because when we were talking about it, was right after he was acquired. And there had been no spring training. So, like...
No, I just assumed it's an easier assignment. Playing right field, there's a ball down the right field line. Pretty much any right fielder in Major League Baseball has a strong enough arm to hold a guy to a single in right field at Yankee Stadium. It's always applicable. And Juan Soto's got a great arm, even more so. And there's way less ground to cover. So what does Juan Soto love to do? Look at his career. Look what he did in San Diego. Look what he did in Washington. Look at those World Series runs. He likes to play at the wall and play balls in front of him. Well, guess what? When you play at Yankee Stadium, it's very easy to play right field. I shouldn't say easy, but much easier to play right field when you just get to play with your back up against the wall, play balls in front of you, and if a ball's over your head, it's already gone, right? So Juan Soto, statistically, is a very good right fielder, analytically, in pinstripes in right field. So that's great. So, yeah, I just thought the tea leaves were there. That was just what it was. But, yeah, we've been saying Aaron Judge, first base, all these different things. Jason Dominguez is your center fielder. That's where he was getting accustomed to center field this whole year, right? Injury or not, he was a center fielder. Now he's a left fielder. So if people are upset that he's not developed defensively in left field, I think that's a little overblown. He should be able to play left field as a center fielder. But blame themselves. They should blame themselves. He should have been here a lot earlier.
I agree. So that's going to do it. We have the movie that I have to come up with right now. I'm going to throw one out there. Probably no one's ever seen before. Maybe you have. It's I guess indie film. Really liked it.
Okay.
Not really indie. I mean, it was whatever. Aubrey Plaza's in it. I think she's a great actress. Emily the Criminal. Check it out. Yeah,
Never
you're like,
heard of it.
I have no idea what that is, but good to know. So yeah, Emily the Criminal, Aubrey Plaza, Theo Rossi, good movie, and yeah, put it in the comment section below. Emily the Criminal, if you stayed until the end of this video.
Yeah, like this video.